Cybercrime is a major problem these days. To prevent people from being hacked and having their credentials stolen, it is not only important to develop new technical solutions, but also to educate the user and help them become aware of the risks lurking on the internet. This is exactly why we need psychologists, to close this gap, to protect the weakest link in information security and thus the whole of society. To achieve this, psychologists should help creating cybersecurity awareness trainings that are equally motivating and fun, but also useful and effective, not only for a short period of time, but also for the long run. Various psychological theories serve as tools to reach this goal. For instance, we can have a look at learning theories to understand how these trainings must be designed in order to create a long-term training effect. How often do we have to repeat an exercise? How to make information as rememberable as possible? Psychologists have the necessary methodological and content-related knowledge to answer these questions, depending on the respective training method and target group.
There are a number of different training courses that already exist and educate end users on the dangers that we have on the internet. So you have a broad range of different things where you would normally be thinking about knowledge transfer, where you just simply are presented with text that you could read. But there's also the idea of having board games that you could use for certain things, or some complex simulations that you could run through. Sometimes they're gamified, and nowadays we call them apps that would help you to understand the phenomena. But the basic principle always amongst all these things is the same, because it's about educating end users on different elements of cybersecurity dangers, training them on how you could avoid those traps to fall into. And then it's also about how you would apply the knowledge that you've gained through these apps or to these texts in order to have an easier life every day on the internet. So even though that sounds quite straightforward, hey, you present somebody with information that they could learn and then you apply it to improve your cybersecurity behavior, this is often where these training mechanisms fail, because most of these trainings don't have a long-term effect. So what help do you have out of such a training if it's only going to work out for like a few days? Because cyber dangers are there constantly. Every time you use the internet, you might end up in a situation that could be potentially affecting your personal security. So in addition to these challenges that we have in the trainings and their effectiveness, you could also argue, and that's me saying that as a psychologist, on the evaluation of these trainings. So often you see there are a lot of concepts, especially these games that pop up, where you feel like, oh, this is a great new approach, but you don't know anything about the effectiveness of those concepts and why you would even choose that particular approach in a training. So why would you even think about using a game or a simulation? What added benefit does that bring, or what benefit at all does that bring to you? So therefore I feel psychologists can bring a special skill set to these evaluation processes by coming in with psychological theories that could make an important contribution to improving cybersecurity trainings, as well as talking about abstract concepts that have a long-term and lasting effect on your personal cybersecurity behavior.
Among many other psychological theories that can be applied to cybersecurity, the theory of planned behavior is of particular value. This theory is used by numerous scientists as an approach to explain behavioral change. What we can learn from it is that it's not enough to just change the user's attitude towards cybersecurity and its importance. We also need to consider other factors like subjective norms and perceived behavioral control. This is not only relevant for the training design, but also vital to measure the effectiveness appropriately. A psychologist wouldn't make the mistake of just asking the participants after attending the training whether they want to change their passwords in the future. A psychologist would know that there is a huge gap between intention and actual behavior, and therefore he would be able to address it. Another aspect that should be taken into consideration designing educational material is security fatigue, which describes the phenomenon of users being tired of new cybersecurity policies and tools. This results in a reluctance that further increases cybersecurity risk. To address this issue, one must take the user's perspective and help them feel less overwhelmed, but instead encouraged and capable when it comes to security online.